I'm writing this because of the shocking way I found out about my wife's years of cheating behind my back. There are two parts to this story. The first is not so shocking and details how I found out about her cheating the first time, and the second part is how I found out the second time, which is the truly amazing one. Part 1. It all started when I was living in South Korea teaching English. I met my wife there, Korean woman, and the relationship started off good. We had our fights, but loved each other, or so I thought. After a few years of marriage, we decided to move to the USA. I was tired of teaching English as a profession, and she wanted to be a nurse in the US. She was an emergency room nurse in Korea. Her English was okay, but she wanted to try to learn it fluently. So, before we immigrated, she started studying English and going to an English academy where she would spend long hours. After a while of her studying there, before we moved back to the US, I started seeing some changes in her. First, there's this messaging app in Korea called KakaoTalk. It's used almost ubiquitously over there. Think Facebook Messenger for Korea. In the past, she had always had a picture of us as her profile picture on the app. She made sure our picture was on mine as well. Then one day I noticed she took all of our pictures off the app and I confronted her about it. I forget what excuse she made, but when I asked her to put her picture back up there, she absolutely would not. I think she made it seem like it wasn't a big deal and I was making too much out of it. I knew something had changed, and I noticed her attitude toward me was more confrontational and demeaning during this time. I still didn't suspect cheating, however. I should have, but she had always said she loved me so much and would never cheat on me. I guess I believed her. There were a few nights she didn't come home. Each time, of course, she made a believable excuse. On the night I found out, she had said she would stay the night with her sister because she had to take her sister and her husband to the airport early the next morning. This was probably the third or fourth time I had to stay at the apartment by myself, and that night I started feeling lonely, so I messaged her on KakaoTalk. Not only did she not answer my texts on Kakao, I could tell she never even read them, because on the app it lets you know if the message has been seen or not. Later, I found out that she had blocked me, so she never even received the messages. I called and got no answer. I waited a bit longer and called again. Still no answer, of course. Also on Kakao, it will show you who's currently on the app. I saw that her sister, who she said she would stay with, was on the app. I called her sister and asked if she was there and explained that she had told me she was staying there tonight. Her sister seemed shocked, and you could tell by her tone and answer that she didn't know anything about this. She hadn't seen my wife and didn't know where she was. I didn't know this at the time, but after my phone conversation with the sister called my wife and wanted to know what was going on. My wife probably lied to her as she did to me, but her sister did convince her she needed to call me. So, my wife calls me, and I was pissed because I knew she had lied to me. I told her she better get home now or our marriage is over. Upon arriving home, she told me to get in her car and started spinning a tale, which she probably told her sister too, about not wanting to tell me, but that she was out clubbing with some single girlfriends. She made it sound like she was just helping them hook up with guys and wasn't looking for anybody herself. I said, "Give me your phone," and basically yanked it out of her hand. I opened the KakaoTalk app and clicked on the first conversation and started going through it, snapping pictures. Only then did the real truth come out. The messages I had been taking pictures of were from a teacher at the English academy she had been attending. I only had a few pictures before she took the phone back, crying, asking me to please stop because she didn't want to hurt me more. But the pictures I did have definitely told the story. They had a sexual relationship, and he is who she was with that night. So she confessed about having liked him and having an affair with him. I was pretty devastated. We were literally a month away from going to the US together. Her green card had already been approved, and I really didn't have anyone over there for support. You see, in Korea, English teaching is usually temporary. The academies give native English speakers 1-year contracts, and most people go back to their home countries after 1 or 2 years. By that time, I had been married for 3 years and didn't really get out much. Most of the friends I had were long gone by then. She begged me to forgive me and said it was sorry and it would never happen again. You know the drill. At first I said no way, I'm going back alone. But I was completely distraught. It's like my whole world had crashed. After a while I just couldn't bear the thought of that 18-hour plane ride alone. I was truly a mess. So I decided to give her a second chance. We stayed together and came back to the US. Part 2. The first year back was pretty rough. Trying to get a job outside of teaching with a resume limited to time teaching in Korea was not easy. I ended up surviving mostly doing DoorDash and some part-time work. Then we were forced to move in with my parents due to financial constraints. There, I got a job at a really good company that I had worked at for a year before I went to Korea. If I was smart, we would have stayed with my parents for a while at the outset and got a job there. Anyway, after working there for a year, my wife got a job there too. Now, both making a good income, we moved into our own apartment. Things seemed to be going well. However, we still had occasional fights, and sometimes it seemed like she was deliberately pushing me away. Some of the things she would get mad about, I would scratch my head and be like, why in the hell is she complaining over this? One time, I remember, I always used to leave my Monster Energy cans by the sink so I could dump them the next time I did dishes. Usually I never finished the whole thing and would just leave them by the sink. She never, that I remember, said anything before about not wanting me to do that. But one day she just got angry and said in an angry tone something to the effect of, "Why do you leave those there? I told you not to do that. Dump them in the sink right now or next time I will pour them all over your pillow." When she got angry, she was very demeaning toward me and said some nasty things. She would apologize later, but due to our continued arguments and distancing, we did decide to get divorced around fall of 2024. She had been going back to Korea for a few weeks to visit her family and friends almost every year since we moved to the US. That year, 2024, she was going back in the winter. Our divorce proceedings were still going through at that time. We were still living together because neither of us had the money to cut our lease and move out. And we were living as friends, even friends with benefits. I still loved her after all. While she was in Korea, one day she called me crying and told me she had received an angry KakaoTalk call from the wife of the man she cheated on me with 4 years ago. My wife claimed she confessed to the woman everything that had happened between them. Later, she said the woman sent her a legal notice threatening to sue her. That's right. Even though adultery is not a criminal offense in South Korea, apparently it's still a civil offense and you are allowed to sue the person your spouse cheated on you with for compensation. As an American, that seems really odd, but it's true. You can do that in South Korea. I was flabbergasted. She had to tell me because now she was scared of the legal consequences and needed money to pay for a lawyer to defend herself. She asked my help in getting a 401k loan from work to pay for it. I asked her how his wife could have found out about something that happened so many years ago. She explained that they communicated about their affair through essays she wrote while attending the English Academy and that she must have read those. So, I thought maybe he cheated again recently in a similar way with another student, and she found out. Then she started looking into his files and found out about my wife and him many years prior. I did really question the timing of all this, though. It seemed very odd that she suddenly contacted my wife at the time my wife was in Korea. I mean, what are the chances? She could have found out about his cheating any time in the past 4 years, but happened to find out while my wife was in Korea. It did seem odd timing. It seemed more likely that maybe something happened between my wife and him when she was over there. And the wife found out. I told my wife that, but my wife was adamant that there had been no meetings or communication with him since the original cheating took place before we came to the USA. So, stupidly believing her, all I could think was that he must have cheated again, and then she dug into his files and found out about my wife and him many years prior. Since she was already over there, she used her credit card to hire a lawyer. She had me sign over rights to be able to sue the guy she cheated on me with on my behalf. Since we were still legally married in Korea, I was able to sue him. I didn't really want any part of it, but all I had to do was agree to allow her to sue, and then she would take care of it. A couple months passed, and then the guy she cheated on me with, of course, found out he was being sued by me. So, I don't know how, but he somehow got my email address and contacted me. What he told me put me in an utter state of shock. He apologized, of course, and was very sincere. He told me they had met when she went back to Korea in late 2024. She had contacted him the day after arriving to Korea and wanted to meet. At the time, he was trying to have a second baby with his wife and didn't really want to meet her, but he was worried that if he ignored her, she might escalate the situation further and even involve his wife.
They had lunch together, and she wanted to have sex with him, but he pretended to ignore her and dropped her off at a subway station. A few days later, she texted him saying she still had deep feelings for him and asked if he felt the same. She wanted to meet and have sex. Trying to finally make things clear, he told her directly that he did not have any such feelings for her and did not want to meet her again. That's when, apparently, my wife went into a fit of rage. My wife must have got his wife's phone number from his car or maybe looked her up by name on Kakao. It turns out my wife is the one who contacted his wife and confessed everything. I know because I asked the man for proof. He sent me pictures of the messages my wife sent to his wife on Kakao. So it turns out that that man's wife would have never known if my wife hadn't reached out to her. After his first email to me, before he even replied to my follow-up questions, it just